to live here with Bayut. Find your next home. Browse from over 200,000 listings for rent and sale in the UAE. Download the app or visit Bayut.com.
Yeah, time now for our weekly look at all the sort of top property stories crossing our desks. Needless to say, Dubai's property market, the talk of the town, not just here, around the world, because you've got annual prices increasing even in the last month by an average of 14.5%. That's the figures for April. Now, that's great news, of course, if you're an agent, if you're a homeowner, if you're a developer, everyone's celebrating, but not so good if you're a normal family with bills to pay and rising rents. And that surging market is actually changing the geography of Dubai, because it's driving people out of the centre and creating entirely new satellite zones. Now, the experts are calling it the rise of suburbia, and I'm joined by one of them now. Delighted to invite Fibha Ahmed, who's Director of Sales for Dubizzle and Bayut, into our studio. Lovely to have you with us, Fibha. Tell me, which are the best communities outside the centre of town from your, what would be your advice, I suppose, from your perspective?
Thank you very much. You're absolutely right. Dubai real estate has been making headlines for double-digit growth. In some areas, with regards to transaction, it's even triple-digit growth. And the triple-digit growth in terms of transactions has not come in your super luxury, high-end areas for transactions like the plot of sand that was sold recently, or the super luxurious penthouses or villas at the Palm. These are your suburbs that are really seeing a lot of uptake in terms of interest when it comes to leads per listing, or the inquiries per listing, as we call it in our world, where we see how many people are actually inquiring about a particular listing. Very interesting to see this year, JVC, for example, has stood out by 135% increase in the terms of transactions as compared to last year this time. Primarily driven by off-plan sales in the flats segment. You're looking at an average price of below 1 million dirham. You can get a decent 1 to 2 bed apartment. You can also look at very interesting areas where you can make a very nice, healthy, spacious lifestyle in Town Square. Town Square has really picked up in regards to interest this year, as people are getting priced out of the central areas, which we call our Emirates Living, or the first phase of Arabian Ranches. So I would say Town Square, JVC, and Damac Hills has seen some very interesting trends in this year with regards to people looking out towards the suburbs to make it their home.
Okay, so those are the areas that you're getting a good value proposition. I have to say, I was picking up my son from a friend's play date in Arabian Ranches on Friday evening, and I had a slightly different perspective as I was driving around the neighbourhood, because I was like, everyone who owns one of these houses is now a millionaire because they've gone up in value so much. But meanwhile, down the road, quite a bit down the road, to be honest, down in Arabian Ranches 3, my 30-year-old brother has just bought there. He's only been in the country for 6 months, and he's already bought himself a house in Arabian Ranches 3. But he says that it makes sense for him because he's working in Silicon Oasis, and there's only an 11-minute commute. Now, have you been seeing that a lot for young professionals, you know, of his age bracket?
Absolutely. People, now that they're going back to their offices, hybrid working is still applicable in some companies, but I've seen a lot more people coming back to work. People prefer to have the calm and the peace and the space that they've gotten used to post-COVID. They're not willing to compromise on space. And of course, the rising rents and the rising prices in the very prime central locations have actually pushed people to not only stop renting, but to buy their first home. And when they go out to see what options are available, people are exploring the Damac Hills. People are also venturing out to the Damac Hills too. There is a lot of options available on the Qudra stretch and Dubai Land area, especially if you look at Villa Nova. Very decent living lifestyle. You have townhouses. You can get a decent townhouse, 3-bed under 2 mil. So all of these options have made it very viable to people who don't mind commuting a little extra minute or 2 or 3, but they would rather rather have space and they would have peace of mind.
Yeah, worth highlighting for that Arabian Ranches 3 villa. He's managed to get a golden visa. So he's been here for 6 months. I've been here for 9 years. We don't own a thing here, a car. And he's already got a golden visa and a house in Arabian Ranches 3. But the reason why I haven't done that is because I'm quite risk averse. I'm a bit older, I've got a family. Realistically, are these properties going to hold their value when in 2 or 3 years, all of these big developments that will come to fruition and all of a sudden there will be a bit more supply on the market? You know, are they going to hold their value? That's the million-dollar question, I suppose.
I think you bring up a very good point here, Georgia. If we look at the trends as to what has happened, let's take the example of Town Square. Pre-handover, the Town Square villas, the Zahra townhouse, the Hyatt townhouses, they were averaging about 1.4 million. As soon as they handed over, they saw a 26% increase in their prices. So that kind of activity, especially when the townhouse and villa communities is scarce as compared to the demand, there's always the possibility that you would see a price hike. So always good investment. You have upcoming projects. The Valley by Emaar around Tobiah Lane Road is a very good option to look for, especially the Brandy Mar would get you the bucks. And I would say Expo Villas towards Expo City is also a very good option. Yes, further out, but the demand for villas and townhouses do not seem to be going down at all because a lot of people are moving here. They're making to buy their first home, their primary home. They're getting your golden visas like your brother in 6 months, unlike us who've been here for 10, 17 years. So that just makes it all so very predictable that we are going to continue to see this demand be steady. And I would still say that the villa townhouse community is still very scarce, even with all that has been planned to hand over in 2023, 24, 25. With the influx of people that are coming here and living here for good, we would always see an uptick in price.
Okay, I've got 30 seconds with you. How about if I don't have enough money to buy a villa? Is it a smart investment to buy a small apartment that just gets me over the golden visa mark?
Golden visa mark is tied to a certain ticket, and I believe it's around 2 mil. I would say you would have to decide, is golden visa the end goal, or is it a smart investment with a high yield and a low price at the beginning? If you're looking for investment in terms of high rental yields, I would say look at your JVCs. You look at your Damac Hills actually has some very decent studios with a very high rental yield. However, there are 2 mil mark villas, townhouses available in your upcoming communities.
Fibha Ahmed, great to have you on the show, Director of Sales there for Dubizzle and Bayut.